It's all these things, and we're down to there now. So it started off with 4 12-volt car batteries, wound, motor to be 48-volt DC, all looped up, all great. That was the primary power supply. As soon as the batteries were dead, the lift was off. So we sat and worked with them. I was still with Telerail Trillium and so on at that point in time. We said, look guys, it's great, it's brilliant, but by 10 o'clock the lazy buggers in DWP had blown the batteries. We have to wait until 12 o'clock when they're recharged. We need to do something. So second generation, we were monitoring the mains power, using the batteries as the secondary supply to give it the oomph to get the lift moving. Once we were doing that, that was great. So we were only at 6 and 8 persons. Third generation, we moved up to 10 and 13 person. Fourth generation, we got up to metre per second, which for most applications in the UK, a 13 person metre per second lift from an evacuation point of view is pretty much utopia. You're not going to get many applications above 8 stories that you're looking outside of something a bit different than that. And when you are, you're looking at something that's going to cost you a lot more money in your lift and vertical transportation design anyway. So how does it work? So mains power is 240 volts, not 3-phase. Secondary power is 22 12-volt lead acid batteries in a little cabinet, probably about the sort of size of what that is, 6 inches deep, 6 above the top floor landing. It can choose between mains or primary power. So if you didn't have it as an evacuation lift and you just had it as a normal lift, you can put PV cells on and all sorts of stuff and almost run your lift for free. So it's a massive energy saver as well. So any hydraulic lifts that cost you a lot of money because you're running them and they're busy, change them over, put that on, save yourself thousands of pounds a year. So that's it. That's our little, what we call the free lift board. So the little sun, that's the bit when we put the power in from the PV cells, if you want to use that. And you can set it that you can go from 0% on the batteries or 0% on the mains and switch it either way around. Then are some of the people that have had them. So there's plenty of people out there now that have got them because where they've needed to do evacuation lifts. So interesting jobs that we've done are the likes of Lancaster, the Maritime Museum, Lancaster Town Hall. We've got plenty in Premier Inns, we've got plenty in University of Worcester have just had another 2, and they're doing a big build, hopefully next year, on a university accommodation block where they're going to put, I think, 22, 23 is their idea, typically 4 or 5 story type student accommodation. So some of the case studies, these guys, Rod Harrison at Loughborough Uni, they had them, I think they probably had some of the first ones 10 years or so ago. And they've got plenty going through now. So there's a few of the buildings. So yeah, a lovely old building like Rutland Hall or somewhere new like the Hebs building, which is pretty much state of the art from that point of view. Cambridge County Council did mention earlier that this guy Roy Drayton saw our stuff on the Means of Escape website. We said on the video that it'll do 150 journeys on batteries alone. He rang me up, he said, I've seen that bullshit video that you've got on Means of Escape. I said, oh, sorry about that, Roy, I don't think it's bullshit. I've been testing it for months and months and months. It definitely does what it says on the tin. Please take the time to drive up. So he did, he came, sat in the boardroom with me for about 40 minutes, we're having a coffee. We put the lift on test, he walked back out. It was still going up and down doing what it said on the tin. So he immediately got on the phone, cancelled 2 lifts, he got an order with Kia, changed their technical memorandum, and since then we've been specified on all the new schools and so on where they want evac lifts and so on. So it definitely does what it says on the tin. Whole life cost, as I say, my previous life was at Trillium. I was national lift manager there, so life cycle, capital expenditure planning, forward maintenance registers, all those sorts of things. So there's some ideas of whole life costing. So installation costs, yeah, okay, they're right, they're wrong, they're where they are today. Evacuation systems, the price for everybody, standby supply. Obviously with the EcoCell it gets built in. It'll take 15 grand for generators, batteries, whichever way you want to go. Maintenance is going to be about the same, LG5s and 10s the same. Oil replacements on an hydraulic, belt changes if you've got Otis Gen 2 or Schindlers. They're very, very expensive. Nearly 5 grand to do an Otis belt change. That's the only guys that have got the technology to be able to say yes and reset it. So they can charge their premium for it. Battery changes, we reckon about 5 years typically out of a set of batteries. Say they're only 12 volt UAPSA batteries, so a competent person who can get on the lift car can get on top and change them, doesn't have to be us. and be an electrician if we wanted to train somebody to do it. Wouldn't be a problem. So maintenance costs, you can see there between 23 to 36,000. So add all that together, capital costs vary from 67 to 92. Energy then comes in as a big one. The EcoCell, because as we've talked about the way it works, we're looking at £7,000 of electricity over 20 years. Your hydraulic is going to use £37,000. So yeah, 30 to 40,000 pounds of saving in whole life cost. Other benefits, obviously, because it's got the power supply and it's doing what it does, there's plenty of benefits there. And as it says, now available with self-evacuation. What's self-evacuation? I hope somebody's going to ask me. Well, self-evacuation, quite simply, is if you've got an access control system in some way, shape or form that you can discriminate, and I will say it in that way, discriminate between an able-bodied and a wheelchair person, yeah, and their fob gets programmed and they go to the lift in the event that it's gone down on fire alarm activation. You put the call in, the system says that's a disabled person, it effectively does the key switch on the evacuation, it will send the lift up to their floor, the doors will open for a predetermined time, giving them sufficient time to get into the lift car, then it'll go down to ground. And it'll sit there then until somebody comes actually puts it into evac control. So you can start the process. And that was the big thing for Worcester University. Their accommodation block, when they have it, they're not going to have the guards on the site. They're going to be down at main campus. So they know they've got somewhere in the region of 5 to 10 minutes before they get somebody there to start doing it. So we say, well, we can do that straight away. Your people can start to evacuate. There you go. Was that pretty much bang on? So, the real questions and answers.
Why does it use less energy if you're not using PV or wind turbines?
That's for me to know. Basically what it's doing is there's a little bit of self-regeneration in there. Yeah.
Well, there's also with the other manufacturers, aren't there, as well? They do regen.
There is, but it's how they're putting it back. You're using the 240 volts to keep the batteries up. So you're using a DC supply going into the VF drive, and actually you're spitting out 415 volts. So the gearless machine would be a Zeelerberg SM200 or something similar to that. Yeah, 3-phase machine, but we've only got a single-phase supply. So it's just about the clever use of the DC that's in the bus that spits it back out. But equally, as you'll know better than anybody else, any traction lift is going to use a shed load less energy than an hydraulic, as an example. And each traction lift. So if you're going to gearless, and predominantly this answer is about gearless, 2 to 1, so you're obviously using smaller motors and such like. That's all it's down to. I would imagine now, to be fair, the new Otis Gen 2, the latest version, I think it's got a motor that's about the size of a tin of can of beans, you know, it's just nothing. Would probably be more energy efficient, but equally, as I say, it's about the same size as a tin of beans. It's probably got 2 hamsters on the back end of it. It's that small. So that's why it uses, it's all about the DC bus and how they've squirted it in. So, yep.
So the conflict between BS999 and EN8176,
which has not been ratified yet, because it's still...
Okay, that's the question. So at the moment...
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's still in DD stage.
So specifications that come out currently that may say please comply with all the foreign regulations should be saying 8176 at the moment.
Well, they can reference it. They can reference it because it does sit within the suite. But you can argue back against it if you want to. That's our view on it.
It's simply that some contractors will pick that apart because they'll go, if the client was expecting to have secondary supply and it's not explicitly stated, which generally it would be, but if it wasn't explicitly stated, then the contractor can go, we comply because this being referenced in the spec and this says it is